What's up everyone, this is Asadullah Chaudhary, and in today's lesson I'm going to show you how you can make this web page layout number 4. And the best part is it's going to be responsive. Alright, so as you can see, these are the different screen sizes which I have to write the CSS for using media queries. And if the screen width is greater than 1200 pixels, the page will display like this. And if the screen's width is between 992 pixels and less than 1200 pixels, page will look like this. This is for tablet PCs, and this is how it will look like on a mobile phone. Alright, so today I'm not gonna write the HTML code using Microsoft Paint because I have already done that part just to save the time. So let me show you. There it is. As you can see, the black border. So this is going to be my wrapper. This is the main div that will be containing all of my content, and inside the wrapper, first of all, there is a header and which is in gray color, and then another div that has an ID which is content. That is a container that is containing this left panel and the right section which is in yellow color. So the left panel is also a container that is containing navbar, and it's also containing news, this pink colored box which is for news. Alright, so then right underneath this content div, this is the footer. Alright, so we are good to go. So now I'm gonna open up my text editor to start writing the codes. So first of all, I have to create my HTML file, and as usual I'm gonna save this file inside some directory. I'm gonna create that directory now. I'm gonna name it layout 4, and the file name is gonna be index.html. I would need another file. This time it's gonna be my CSS. If you've been watching all of my previous video lessons, so you will get the idea why I'm gonna put this file inside the public directory and then inside the CSS directory. Actually, I like this file structure, the directory structure. Okay, so the CSS file name is gonna be style.css. so it's time to generate my markup. HTML markup is ready. Line number 4 is gonna be meta char set, which is character encoding, mandatory for all of your HTML pages. And the title is gonna be layout number 4. Okay, so now it's time to link my external style sheet, and for this I'm gonna use this link tag, and the URL is gonna be public CSS and style.css. So now I'm gonna write my first div tag, div, and this is going to be my wrapper. The wrapper is gonna contain, if I go back to my image, so the wrapper is gonna contain header, ID, header. So right underneath the header, it's another div which has an ID, that is content. ID content. If I go back to my image, so as you can see, the content is another container which is containing this left panel and this yellow box which has an ID, right section. So I'm gonna I'm gonna use another div tag for this left panel, div id left panel, and I think I should go in the sequence. So right after the left panel, I have to create this navbar now, navbar, and then the following element is this news, the div which has an ID news. Alright, so I have to go inside a left panel, which is the container, and it is containing the navbar ID, navbar, and it's also containing news. Okay, so now it's time to use another div tag for this right section, which is right after the left panel. Right section. So we have done with this part. So now it's time to go to my footer. So right after the content, now it's time to use another div tag to make the footer. ID footer. Alright, so we are good to go. So now I'm going back to my Mozilla Firefox just to use its developer tool. I think instead of using developer tool, I should start writing the code over here, or I should go back to start writing the basic code using the developer tools, and then I'll go back to this style sheet in the text editor. Alright, so I'm gonna put some text over here just to make it appear in the browser, and I'm gonna right click, open in the browser, copy this URL. I'm copying this URL because as you can see right now it's open in Google Chrome, but I want it to be open in Mozilla Firefox, so that's why I needed this URL. I paste the URL, refresh the page. So at the top you can see the title has been displayed, which is layout number 4 English tutorial. I'm gonna right click, and these are the developer tools which I was talking about. I increase the font size. I think this size is good to go. Alright, so the first rule is gonna be asterisk, padding 0, margin 0. This is the reset rule. The asterisk means, as you already know, I have been explaining in all of my video lessons, that asterisk means to target each and every element on an HTML document in one go. Okay, so now it's time to target the wrapper, which has a border solid. The default color of the border is black, so alright, so the default color of the border is black. As you can see, I didn't mention any kind of color over here, so the by default border color is black. So the wrapper is containing this header, this one, this header. Now it's time to target the header. I think I should start writing the media queries over here. So the first media query is gonna be let me go back to check the screen sizes just to make sure. the exact width. First of all, I have to write the media query for this part, for this screen size. It's gonna be greater than 1200 pixels. So I'm gonna write min width, and it's gonna be 1200 pixels. So as soon as the size goes greater than 1200 pixels, 1200 or greater than 1200 pixels, so the CSS right here will be triggered. Alright. Okay, so I'm gonna target the header, and the header has some height, 100 pixels, and it has some background color, gray. This is not a good practice to choose the words for choosing the colors. The right way to do is to use the color codes. If you are using such kind of color names, so it will create some kind of problem in different browsers. But for this particular tutorial, it's fine. I'm just saving the time, so that's why I'm writing the color names instead of going to W3 Schools or any other color picker to choose the color code. Okay, so now it's time to apply some padding around my wrapper. Padding is going to be 15 pixels. So now I have to apply the border radius property. Moz border radius. So always remember, I'm using this prefix which is dash moz dash, which is for old Mozilla Firefox browsers. So it's a good practice to choose these prefixes, just to make sure your code will your website will look like same as on every browser. So the border radius is gonna be 15 pixels. I have the latest version of this Mozilla Firefox, so as you can see, this doesn't support this prefix, so that's fine. There's another prefix which is WebKit, which is for Google Chrome as well as for Opera browser, and I guess it's also for Safari browser. Border radius 15 pixels, and then the standard syntax, which is border radius without any prefixes. Perfect. So as you can see, the border radius has been applied, and now the header has the rounded corners. Perfect. Now it's time to target my content, which is I'm talking about this red border. Content border solid red. I have to put some margin at the top of this container, the content margin top, which is 15 pixels. I'm using the 15 pixel padding right here, so that's why I'm using the 15 pixel margin top over here, because I would like to keep this white space equal all over in my page. Alright, so now it's time to target the left panel. Left panel, which has a blue border solid blue, and I have to reduce its width, and the width is gonna be 20%. I'm not gonna give it any kind of height, because the height depends upon its internal elements. As soon as the internal elements will gain some height, it will automatically be grown. Okay, so now it's time to target the internal elements. So first of all, I'm going to target the nav wrapper. First of all, the background color, and the nav has some bluish gray background colors which I have to get from W3 schools. I'm gonna collect the color code, and I'm gonna use the W3 schools color picker. I think this was the color, this one. Background color has been applied to my navbar. Now it's time to give it some height, and the height is gonna be 300 pixels. Perfect. Or what if I make it 400 pixels? Yeah, the 400 looks perfect. Okay, so I have to apply this border radius property once again. Border radius. So now my navbar has the rounded corners, and don't worry about these borders. These will be removed as soon as the tutorial is completed. Okay, so now it's time to target the news part. Hash news. I would need all these rules right here. The height would be a little lesser. I mean, it's instead of 400 pixels, it will have the height 200 pixels. I think the 200 pixels for this new section looks perfect. Now I have to go back once again to W3 school just to pick the color, and the color is gonna be this one, the lighter tea pink color. I have to give it some margin top to this news section. Margin top, and again the margin top is gonna be 15 pixels, because I would like to keep this 15 pixels margin between each of these elements. Perfect. So far we are going good. So now it's time to target the right section. And its height is gonna be 200 pixels plus 400 pixels. It's 600 pixels plus 15 pixels top margin, 615 pixels. So I have to give it the heights 615 pixels. Copy, paste, and I have to choose the color as well. Yellow. It's a different yellow color. I don't like this color, so I would like to go back to W3 schools, and this was the right color, this one. So now it looks good. So I have to reduce the width of this yellow box. So first of all, I have to give it some height, which is 615 pixels, and it doesn't require any kind of margin top, and its width is gonna be initially 74%. Okay, so far the page looks like this. So now it's time to put this yellow box side by side with this left panel. So I'm gonna do this. I'll use the float left property. So if you are not familiar with float property, then I would suggest you to go back and watch my video lessons about float. So then it's gonna be super easy for you. Otherwise you're gonna get stuck. Alright, so if I go back to my image, so as you can see, now it's time to put the yellow box right after this left panel. So I'm gonna do this. I have already told you I'm gonna use the float property. So I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna float it right, float right. Okay, so now it's time to float the left panel as well, because as you know, the floated elements are taken out of the normal page flow. So as soon as I'll apply the float left property to this left panel, this will be taken out of the normal page flow, and this white space will be occupied by this yellow box. So let's do it. Now I'm gonna apply this float left property to this left panel, and you can see, as you can see, the yellow box has been now side by side with this left panel. So now I have to fix my this top container, which is the content, the red border box, which has been shrunk because both of these boxes has been taken out of the normal page flow. So its container, the content, which is assuming that these elements are not its child anymore. So I have to fix this. So in order to fix this, I'm going to go back and I'm going to target my content container, and I'm going to clear the floats. I'm going to do this. I'm going to write content, then this after pseudo selector. It's a pseudo element. It's not a pseudo selector. It's a pseudo element. Content empty string, display block, clear both. I'm using clear both because I have to clear the float left as well as the float right. So here you can see the red border has been fixed. So now it's assuming that these elements, the right, this yellow section and the left panel, are its child element. Okay, so now I'm going to go back, and I think I should increase the width of this yellow box. Yeah, the 78% looks perfect. You can see the 15 pixels margin between left panel and the yellow box, so it looks perfect. Alright, so now it's time to target the footer, and I'm going to target the footer now. Footer which has some height, and the height is going to be, how about 100 pixels? Yeah, 100 pixels I guess looks perfect. I have to apply some background colors as well, and the background color is going to be this light mauve color. Copy, and background color, paste. The border should be round, so I have to apply this border radius property as well. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it right here. There it is. So now I have to apply some margin top to this footer so that I can keep the margins equal all over my elements, all around my elements. Margin top is going to be 15 pixels. Perfect. I have a little extra space right underneath this footer, so I have to fix this also. So all I'm going to do is to increase the height of this header. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to increase the height of my header, and which is 100 pixels right now. I'm gonna make it 120 pixels. So the 120 pixels looks perfect according to my screen size. Okay, so now it's time to it's time to write the media query for my next screen size. I'm gonna copy this just to save the time. Copy and paste. So this time the media rule is gonna be, I have to go back to check this out, greater than 992 pixels and less than 1200 pixels. So it's gonna be greater than 992 pixels, greater than or equal to 992 pixels, and max width is gonna be 1199 pixels. Why 1199 pixels? Because I have already specified 1200 pixels right here. So as soon as the width goes to this 1200 pixels or greater than 1200 pixels, so this media query will be triggered and this CSS would be applied to the page, and the page will look like this on a big screen size. Okay, so I'm going to go back, and I think I have already done with the next screen size as well, because the layout is fluid and it will be automatically adjusted as soon as the screen size goes to greater than or equal to 992 pixels and less than or equal to 1199 pixels. So let's try this. If I go back to my browser, refresh, if I reduce the page width, so here you can see for this screen size the page looks perfect. So this is the same screen size right here. So as you notice, noticed I'm using the percentages instead of pixels for the width. So it's a fluid layout. So it looks perfect now. So now it's time to target this screen size. What would happen if the screen size goes less than to this size, this one? Then it's going to be this size. So I would need a lot of modification in my codes, because as you can see, the yellow box will occupy the whole page width, and for the left panel it will go down, and its internal elements, the navbar and the news will be floated. So now I have to do this. So now let's go back to fix this. First of all, I have to write the media rule for this. I think I should go back to my text editor now instead of this developer tool. Otherwise you won't understand what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to copy this media query, the last one, paste. So now I'm going to modify this. Let me go back and check the screen size. It's gonna be 768 to 992 pixels. $768 to 991 pixels. So why 991 pixels? Why not 992 pixels? Because I have already mentioned the 992 pixels over here. I have already took care of this screen width right here in this media query. So that's why instead of writing 992 pixels, I have to write this 991 pixels. So we have to take care of each of these pixels. Alright, so as I shown you earlier, I have to make some changes in my CSS for this screen size. I have to put this left panel right here, right underneath this yellow box. This is my yellow box. So for this I have to make some changes. Alright, so now let's go back and do it quickly. I don't want my left panel to float left now. I'm gonna remove this float, and I'm also gonna reduce the height of this navbar. So the height is gonna be 100 pixels. Why? Because I have to make it exactly like this, like this one. The height is 100 pixels, or it should be lesser than 100 pixels. I'm gonna make it 90 pixels, and the new section which will have the same height as well, which is 90 pixels. And if I go back and refresh the browser, before going back I have to remove this rule because it's not required now. Okay, so I'll use this rule for some other purpose, not for the content, for some other element, because I would need to float my elements. If I go back and if I show you right here, so the navbar and the news has also been floated. And what is the container of these elements? The container is left panel. So if I go back, so instead of writing this content over here, I would write left panel, because the left panel will be the element that will be containing the floated elements. Alright, if I go back to the browser, if I refresh the page looks like this. Everything is messed up. So I have to remove the float property from this right section as well, then it would be fixed. If I go back and right section, it is still floated, right? So I have to remove this line. Save the changes. If I refresh the page, so far so good. So I have to increase the width of this yellow box now, and also the width of this left panel. Both should be of full screen width. So all I'm gonna do is to make it 100%. Right section, which is the yellow box, and also the width of my left panel, which is also gonna be 100 pixels, 100%, sorry. If I refresh the page looks like this. So now I have to put this navbar and the new section side by side. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go back and apply the float property. So I'm gonna float right my navbar, and I'm gonna float left my news section. If I go back to the browser, in the browser, the page will look like this. So both of these elements has been disappeared. So I'm gonna make them visible. I'm gonna give it some width, and the width is gonna be 20%. If I refresh the page, there it is. I don't need this margin top. I'm gonna remove it. If I refresh the page, if I go back, so it looks perfect. So now it's time to put my navbar to the right side. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna give it some width, and the width is gonna be 78%. refresh, and as you can see we have also done with this part. So now this is the tricky part. So what I'm gonna do is I have to put this left panel right underneath this yellow box. If I go back to this image, so I have to make it like this. So right now, as you can see, the left panel has been stacked on the top of this yellow box. So I'm gonna put my yellow box on the top of this left panel. So I'm gonna do this. It's pretty simple. I'm gonna go back, and what is the content is the container of left panel and the right section. I'm gonna use the display property, and I'm gonna manipulate these internal elements, the left panel and the right section, as the table elements. So for the left panel, I'm gonna apply this rule, display table footer group. So this rule will put my table right underneath the yellow box. If I refresh the page, so this is how it looks like. So both of the elements has been disappeared. So why? Because I forgot to apply the width property over here. So the width is going to be 100%. If I go back, if I refresh the page looks like this. So now I have to put some margin between this navbar and at the top this yellow box, and I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna apply some margin bottom to this right section, margin bottom, which is 15 pixel, because we've been using this 15 pixel margin before. So I'm gonna keep this. If I refresh the page looks like this. Perfect. So if I reduce the screen size, at this size the style should be changed. It should be converted into this style. So how I'm gonna do this? I'm gonna start writing the media query for this particular screen size. Actually, it's a screen size range. It's not a specific screen size. It's a range actually. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna copy this code. I think I should copy the first media query code. Paste, and this time the size, the screen size is gonna be max width (767 pixels). Why 767 pixels? Because I have already took care of 768 pixels. So instead of using 768 pixels, I have to use this 767 pixels. Alright, so now I have to remove the float properties, right section, and I have to remove the float property from the left panel. I have to give them the full screen width for this particular screen size. If I go back and if I check this in my browser, this will look like this. So I have to put again this this part, the left panel, right underneath this yellow box. So I think I should go back and I should copy these rules. Where I use a display table property. Paste. Okay, so if I go back and if I refresh the page looks like this. So now all I have to do is to stack these two elements, the navbar and the left, the pink colored new section. I'm not gonna apply this float property now to the new section, and the width is gonna be full page width. And the navbar, it has also a full page width now, and it's not gonna float anymore. If I go back to the left panel, I have to remove this property now, it's not required. I have to remove this rule as well because I'm not using any kind of float anymore. Actually, by mistake I removed this rule as well, so this is required. I'm gonna remove it, and if I go back and if I refresh the page, you can see the page looks like this. So if I go back to the image, it looks like the same as image. What is missing? I have to apply the margin top property to this pink colored box. So I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna apply this margin top property, and the margin top is gonna be 15 pixels. If I refresh the page, so it looks like this. If I reduce the screen size, so as you can see, it's working for all of the screen sizes. Alright, so I hope you like this video tutorial, and I think I should remove these borders as well. If I go back and border, this border, and then I have to remove this border, then I have to remove this border. Then I have to remove this border, left panel border, and again I have to remove this border. And the left panel's border. I have to remove the border of this as well, and this as well. Alright, if I refresh the page, so the page looks like this. Alright, so I hope you like this video, and if you get stuck anywhere, you can ask me, and I would gladly help you out with this. Alright then, take care, bye bye.